I just want to start today by offering my condolences on the passing of Dejan Miljovic. It's a sad loss for our whole league, but in particular for Dejan's family. I want to offer our thoughts and prayers and our condolences, and for the Golden State family as well. It's just a very difficult thing, and he was beloved by, I didn't know him directly, but I know a lot of people that have known him, and just a really positive person. And his loss is being felt league wide. Questions?
Frank, you have talked before about just ran into Josh Bogey in an elevator one time. Did you know anything about Grayson or run into him anywhere before he joined you guys this year?
Yeah, so I had two different conversations with Grayson. Actually, I don't think I actually spoke to him directly in Milwaukee, but when I was out in each of my sabbatical years after Orlando and after LA, I visited different teams. And, the first time I met him was when I was visiting Quinn Snyder in Utah. And, Grayson and I were just having breakfast together at the same time. So, introduced myself, told him I'm a fan of his game. And so I got to spend a little bit of time with him there. And then I saw him briefly when I visited the Bucks. And Coach Budenholzer last year. So there were two times I met him before coming here.
When there's a player that might have like a questionable reputation, whether it's legit or not, do you reach out to coaches or people they've been around in the past to for who they are?
I didn't in this case. I mean, sometimes you do, but I didn't. I never felt that with Grayson. I felt like he's just a competitor, and everything I've seen since then shows me that is all in his past. He's just a guy that's going out there and playing clean and playing hard. So that's what we've seen with him.
And then one last thing, what you said the other night that he surpassed your expectations. What were your expectations when you came in?
A good role player, a guy who can shoot the basketball, guard some, high IQ guy, but he's just all of that. It's been just a notch or two above, what we expected.
Is that kind of a little bit different thing? You take that reputation coming out of college, just show that you can be a player in the league for a long time. You just got to put in the work.
Yeah, I mean, I think the credit to him is that his game is speaking for itself. It's not about anything other than that. He's just become a hell of a basketball player.
That just comes from basically being a Duke product. There's a lot of those guys have longevity coming from that institution of the brotherhood, but not necessarily as superstars coming out of maybe like one Kentucky, like Devin, Shea, all that guys like that.
Yeah, there's some, there's a Duke element to it, I'm sure. Going back to the Leitner days and those teams, everybody loved to hate them. But I think that's just part of it.
Coach Kevin was telling us about the conversations that he had with you last summer, kind of offering himself up to be a lockdown defender. What were those conversations kind of like, hearing that from a guy who's obviously top offensive player of all time?
Yeah, it's just like he said it. He said you don't have to try to hide me on weaker offensive players. That I want that challenge. Of guarding the other team's top guy. My response is always, well, we'll manage certain games to try to save your legs some, and save some of those situations for the fourth quarter. When we need it most. But he's always been willing to take whatever matchup we offered him, and he's even asked to be on certain guys to help slow guys down. So it's a real credit to him as a competitor and as a winner.
And a couple of housekeeping things. How is Vogel progressing? And also with Damian, I know you said it would be kind of before the end of the season, but is there any update on that?
Yeah, Damian's still a ways away. We're still hopeful to get him back, before the end of the season. And Vogel is going to be out tomorrow. Won't travel with us, but still don't feel like it's long term.
What do you think a win like the other night is? Notice anything that's better. You guys have always been good about that. Just very something coming off that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just every small success throughout the NBA season is a confidence builder. No matter what your guys have done collectively in their careers, each group has to feel those successes together. This roster of players, our coaching staff, all of us working together for the first time. a big success like that, like a 22-point fourth quarter comeback, you know, is a huge confidence boost for you know, for what we can do. And but I think it just stacks on top of what we've done over the last 2 weeks. You know, we feel really good about the direction our team is going, and you know, that just stacks on top of it.
See the time together, kind of paying off, I guess, in real time in a way.
Absolutely. You know, it's we're growing every day. You know, even from the film, you know, the first 3 quarters, you know, which we watched that too. We didn't just watch the comeback today. Ways we could have been better to not get down 22. But also, you know, the resolve we showed, you know, and to not give up on the game, to continue to believe in what we can do with the 3-point shooting we have out there, with the lineup that we put out there. And you know, the never quit mindset.
Is that when, like, could that be a season changing win for you guys? It's running in the right direction.
You know, I wouldn't go that far. You know, I mean, I think it's one of the successes that we've had that's going to build, you know, build us going in a positive direction, build our confidence and in one another and this group being together for the first year together. But you know, it's definitely a confidence booster.
When you look at the Pelicans and their size, especially the starting lineup that you guys like to run out, you know, size has been a disadvantage, but how do you kind of look at this particular matchup?
Yeah, they got to guard us. You know, they create some problems for sure with matchups and whatnot, you know, and it's something we've talked at length about. But you know, with all these things, you know, we got an offensive lineup that is equally as challenging to guard.
Is it gratifying when you kind of, you've been preaching like we time together, we need reps, get everyone healthy, now that you're seeing it and seeing the lineup data, what you guys can build those balls together?
Yeah, and I honestly don't even think we've scratched the surface yet of, you know, what we're ultimately going to be. Hopefully the last few weeks of the regular season going into the playoffs. You know, we're going to continue to tweak and evaluate with our roster, okay, and different personnel, but with how we're using, you know, those guys as well. And you know, I just think there's a growth mindset with this group that is really healthy and really positive. And you know, we're off to a pretty good start, you know, from a standpoint of these guys playing together healthy, and hopefully it continues to grow. Yeah, it's still a work in progress, you know, it's still imperfect, but you know, a lot of positives.
More comfortable with a specific designated point guard rather than, you know, moving it around the way.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of actions, right? We have, you know, Book and Brad are handling that as primary ball handlers, you know, but in flow, anybody can bring it. You know, even our center at times, we're going to bring it and get into DHO type of action. You know, that's how we want to attack early in the clock. You know, so it's coming along.
Coach, obviously those last 5 that you put out last game, a lot of people talk about the offense, and I know you talked a lot about Kevin's defense, but what did you see collectively defensively to close out that game?
Yeah, I thought all 5 really competed at a high level. You know, Eric Gordon had some switch outs, had some one-on-one plays. Grayson had some hellacious blocks inside and steals, and Book and Brad are flying around out there. So, I mean, there was a high level of competitive spirit with some big time athleticism. You know, not the biggest group, but high IQ guys, and guys can get the job done. So, you know, I loved how they competed.
The Pelicans have basically righted their ship ever since that in-season tournament loss to the Lakers, and you guys are just doing the same right after Christmas. So what can you see for similarities, difference between their big three, McCollum, Zion, and Ingram, as well as your big three?
Yeah, I mean, they're also 8-3 in their last 11. You know, they're playing really good basketball. Made 25 threes last night against Charlotte. And, you know, if Brandon Ingram's going to make 7 threes, you know, with everything else that he can do, they're, you know, they're a legit team. I mean, they're big time and real concern. I would say they're further along in their continuity than we are and their system because they've been together longer, you know, but, you know, I like our chances against anyone, but they're playing great basketball.
Thanks, Coach. I just wanted to ask, I know that Frank Vogel's been coaching on multiple ball handler attack a lot of the season. That's something you've been doing a lot, but now that you have big three healthy, you were out there with them. How do you like the look feel yourself, KD, being able to initiate offense more than just kind of point guard?
Yeah, I think it's really dangerous. I think most of the time it's when we're trying to push the tempo on makes and misses, it's really whoever's closest is going to bring it up. And we can kind of flow into different spots and it makes it a lot tougher for the defense. We're not coming down into the same alignment each time, especially when they're trying to guard the four of us out there, each player a little bit differently. So we just flow into different spots and flow into our offense makes it a lot tougher.
As of today, you're the league leader in 3-point percentage. Have you given any thought to what it would mean to be in the 3-point contest?
I haven't. I haven't thought much about it. I haven't leading and leading the league and 3-point percentage. I haven't really been paying attention to much. And I was just talking to my wife the other day about planning our all-star break, not even thinking about that being a possibility. But for now we're planning to get a nice vacation in, so we'll see.
If you did get the invite, would you maybe put your vacation plans on hold?
Yeah, I would consider it. Yeah.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it is.
The success you guys had with the small lineup at the end of the Kings game and back, how much
Yeah.
did that maybe become kind of an identity for this team, or is that something that could make it better at sports?
I think both. I think a lot of it can be matchup dependent. If you get good enough at something, you force the other team to adjust and change the way they're playing. But last game, so much of our success in being able to do that was because of KD and his defense. And he might be dead tired if you ask him to do that for 48 minutes, the way he was out there switching and guarding the post, getting blocks, deflection, steals. But he was so great the fourth quarter, and that's really what allowed us to go to that smaller lineup. And offensively, because we were getting stops, we had 5 shooters out there. We were able to get up a lot of threes and make that comeback quicker.
If you had to ditch the all-star vacation, would your wife be on board with that?
Yeah, I think she would. I think she would think it'd be cool to go to the 3-point contest.
You've got quite a few games this year. You've had 2+ blocks. Was your New Year's resolution to become the next coming of Hakeem, or?
More like Dwayne Wade. Yeah, more like Dwayne Wade. I think a lot of it is has been upside and off the ball and coming over and when the bigs or whoever's down there kind of thinks they have an open layup, catch them by surprise. So hopefully I can keep that up because right now I'm at a career high pace for today.
Actually do have the third high blocks.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Do you think people forget that the defensive prowess from, or even attacking the hole from your Duke days, just because it's been, 6 years since you've been, coming out of the brotherhood?
Yeah, I mean, it's always funny when I get around people that haven't seen me play in other scenarios, because if you're not watching every single game, of course you're gonna think that I'm shooting threes because that's what I do best, and that's threes are probably 70% of my shots. But I was a driver. Coach K told me at Duke I needed to be more of a driver than a shooter, and I had a ton of success of that in college. So I think I still can catch people off guard, and it's probably a strength now that it's kind of secondary to 3-point shooting, because now when I do drive it, most people really aren't expecting it, so it makes it a little easier.
Yeah, your driver numbers are up basically
Mhm.
this year compared to the past 2 years in Milwaukee, where Kevin said that sometimes as a player you have to sacrifice your own assets or attributes in order to benefit somebody else. I think that's the case with you.
Yeah, it's a little bit different style of play. We have 4 or 5 shooters spacing the floor, and we're getting in the drive and kick. You can get multiple drives in, multiple actions, multiple kick. When you're playing with Giannis 70-80% of the time, they're already going to have 5 people in the paint because of Giannis. So if you pass up a 3 and drive it, you're not going to go anywhere.
So the drop.
Yeah, and there's already 4 people. Giannis collapsed 5 people to the paint. You don't need to re-attack that. So most of the time you're going to be in a position where you have to shoot it. So naturally playing with him, you're going to drive the ball less. But with us, we're getting a lot of kick aheads, so I'm able to drive in transition, a lot of that swing where I'm attacking a closeout. And in the last month or so, getting run off the 3-point line a little bit more.
For say, Coach K told you you needed to attack the basketball. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
What was his reason on that?
Just my freshman and sophomore year when I first got there, he just thought that I was like what I was best at then was attacking downhill, getting to the rim, being aggressive and using my athleticism at the rim to finish. And like when I came off the bench in the national championship game or that stretch in the second half of the season, like that's what I mainly did, what I was really successful at my sophomore year. Driving was what opened up everything else. It was drive first, I respect the drive, then you shoot the three. And then over the next 2 years, it kind of developed into, by the time I was a senior, he was like, okay, now I need you to take a ton of threes. We got Marvin and Wendell down there in the paint. It's going to be a little crowded and those guys are going to be really good off the post. So we need shooting around there.
We ever gonna see you smack the floor?
It would take a lot for that to happen.
Grayson, we're getting to that time of year where the trade rumors are kind of flying around.
Yeah.
Seeing your name recently or not.
Of course.
How do you kind of handle hearing your name come up in trade rumors?
I think my name has been in someone's tweet every year since I've been in the league. So I hardly pay any attention to it. Usually it brings a smile to my face because it's a little funny, but I've loved playing here this season. I love playing with this team. I don't want to be traded, so not worried about it.
Is it flattering at all when you hear your name continually come up?
Usually it means someone else wants you. Hopefully that's the case, and it's not the team you're playing for wants to get rid of you. So it can be a little flattering.
It seemed like the other night, you see the reaction.
About the crowd, I didn't see the reaction. I was hoping I worded it well, so it was taken the right way. It was coming from a good place, and it wasn't really thought out. So I assume that I didn't say it as well as I possibly could. The gist of it is that, like, of course they can come and cheer, boo, however they want. But when we're out there, we are giving effort. Like, we're not trying to play bad. It's not a lack of effort thing. And whenever we're playing bad and you see guys on the bench trying to encourage each other, all I'm saying is that it helps if the fans are also encouraging and not booing at home court. And then when we have times where we went on the run, like that was like a top 5 regular season crowd actually in the fourth quarter that I've ever been a part of. Like it was so loud in there. And that's for being a really good home court team. It takes the crowd, like the crowd does help in the game. And so all I was trying to say is that they can help. They don't have to, but they can if they want to.
Grayson, could that team be like a season turning moment?
I think so. We're trending in the right direction. So going into a game where you are trending in the right direction, we feel like we're starting to click, and then you go down 20. So if that game were to end down 20, it could have been a little bit of a step back for us. But we showed a lot of resilience in the fourth, and that was our first time this season really making a huge comeback like that. And I think that's something big to build off and gives you that belief in games where you get down 10 or 15. Sometimes you're playing bad. Sometimes the other team just makes a ton of shots and you get down. So now when we're in that situation, we know we can put up points quickly.
Grayson, it's kind of the mindset you have when you're down that much. Is it kind of one possession at a time, or kind of put in the back of your mind that you're down?
It's definitely one possession, and all of our runs start with getting stops. Like we created a bunch of turnovers in the fourth, deflections, blocks, and being able to get out and run and creating an advantage offensively where we can pass the ball around and hit some threes. You kind of think of like the best marker of that in the last 10 years is like those Golden State teams. It's like if they hang around, they're going to have their 10, 15 point explosion. If you go up 10, 15 against them, they can hit 4 threes and be right back into it. Right. So But that starts with getting stops for us, and I mean, we have the firepower out there to make threes at a high rate.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thank you.